Hey guys, we got some updates on the S480 Mustang, as well as a new shifter to install. Alright guys, as mentioned, today we are going to get our new B&M Pro Magnet Grip shifter installed. I've already got a couple things installed down there, more so just to make sure that it was all going to fit, but I've created a bracket in here as well, just to kind of get a spot for the shifter to sit. Made a couple changes to it, modified the center console. We're going to go all through that as well. But basically, just did some updates. Just want to kind of give you guys an idea of where we're at with the car. So under the hood here is basically tied together. All I got left is charge piping. You can see I just got to finish here down to the front of the intercooler, and then from turbo down to the intercooler as well. I am going to get a new intercooler, so it's not going to be the same. It's going to be a vertical standing one. Something to produce, or be able to produce and hold a little more horsepower. So that takes care of that. Aside from that, I have finished up the dump on the wastegate with the teardrop out of the hood, so that all fits nice. Oil lines are up, all the boost lines are done up between the compressor and the bottom of the wastegate. I do have dual solenoids here and here for positive and negative for the flow of the control of the CO2 that runs down to the tank in the back. I do have to getting that installed, but I haven't got that far yet. I do have all the water lines hooked together. The only one I'm waiting on is this line here to come down and follow itself back up and go into this 90. This one here, that will resolve our coolant system, and that will make sure that I got heat. And then I just got to get a couple little blocks to kind of hold this back off the downpipe. So I'm going to get to a little time lapse, just kind of putting a couple pieces of this together on the shifter. I have to mount the neutral safety switch so that it sits here, as well as get the wiring ready for it. The car is wired for a clutch safety since it was manual. I just got to run those two wires down the dash, and that will take care of that. So let's get a time lapse, get some of this tied together, and then I'll explain the process. So got the shifter mounted in there. As you can see, I'm going to need to get a new center console portion here, just because the last way I had it, I overcut it all. But this was good because it gave me an idea of how I got to get this mounted. So just basically trimmed out the box a little bit to fit the box in there. So the shifter sits, we are all hooked up, connected. The neutral safety is in there as well. So basically at this point, this old girl is ready to be used. So we aren't going to worry about it right now. For trying to test it out, I do believe everything should be good with it. I do have to switch over to a reverse manual valve body, so I am going to have to take the shifter plate out again, but that's not a big deal. We can do that later. So in the meantime, I'm going to switch to the bottom of the car to show you guys the linkage and what's involved with the adjustment on it, just to get it based on what B&M's recommendation is for setting up your neutral placement and park placement, which will give the rest of your throws proper. So let's switch to the bottom of the car and take a look at that. So, under the car, we have the bracket that bolts into the bottom of the oil pan, and then we have the bracket that bolts to the actual shift linkage on the side of the transmission. Factory bolt just gets removed, you pull the factory plate off, you slide this one on. It has 3 locations for forward shifting, and then we got a center bearing for, I'm not really sure what that's for, and then we have a reverse manual location as well. Essentially, the way that B&M recommends it is to loosen the 2 lock nuts, bring the adjuster nut Still gonna tighten by 10 mil. Bring the adjuster nut to the middle of the throw on the end of the threaded portion. Bring your counter nut on the back tight so that just the tip of this slides in and is free. As you can see, there's a little bit of movement there. It's partially free where it meets the bracket. So as long as your adjustment into there is proper, everything else should work out as it should. So when you go through the gears, when you're back in third, in this instance, you should be able to essentially just remove just a little pull on this end, and that should just fall out. We have already gone and done that. Everything acts the way it should be, so I'm just gonna lock these two bolts down, lock that 10 mil down, and our shifter adjustment is done. The furthermore from that we have left underneath here is I have to get a speedo block here so that I can try to either stop this from working or put an adapter in it to make it to a Hall effect style so that I can use it with Holly. And otherwise we are pretty much good to go. The downpipe is there. You can see my coil brackets are all across the bottom of the K member on both sides there now. I do have to tuck that wiring up and just zip tie it, and I got to get down here and give it a little clean. But overall, we're basically coming together. We're really, I'm really happy with the progress we're making here. I do need to drop the converter at some point just to put a higher stall converter, but we're gonna deal with it for the time being now. Not looking to launch the car at any time, so for the time being that will work perfect. But let's go back to the top. Just a couple of odds and ends that I been doing so far, just to kind of give it an update. Like I said, I have been going at the alternator bracket here, just a custom bracket that I made, just drilled the hole straight through with some I think they're suspension bushing inserts is what I got them from specifically, hardened steel, and basically just drill the hole through the bracket, mount them so they go all the way through, and then just TIG weld both sides. It makes a real sturdy, strong bracket, so there's no deflection in the alternator bracket there. And then with the use of the ICT billet bracket, that will give us our tensioner for our serpentine system. We tie together that. Not running a power steering pump, at least a mechanical one. We are going to run an electronic Volvo S70 electronic power steering pump. Much better option. It's workable with Holly, so I can basically use an output from Holly to turn the pump on at lower speeds and turn the pump off at higher speeds. So should work pretty good for us. Another great option for anyone that's doing one of these swaps and doesn't want to go with the factory serpentine system for lack of space. As you can see, there's not lack of space, but nil of amount of space. But either way, that basically takes care of that. As I mentioned, dual solenoids. We have a dome pressure sensor tied in right there. That does go to the top portion of the wastegate. Two ends down there, the push lock fittings. I do have one more fitting tied into the just beneath the T6 flange. That's going to go for a back pressure sensor, so this one will plug in right here. By the time I bring a stainless line down and bend it up with the pressure transducer sensor, that'll clip in right here. And that will give us our back pressure for the back side of the turbo gear. That way we know what our ratio is going to be for the dome pressure for when we go to set this all up. So aside from that, guys, that's basically puts a little sum of it together for today. I do have a couple more things that I got to get done with it. As you can see, the wheels are sandblasted. I had those completed. I got to get them painted. Ignore the garbage. Stacks up in here more so than the other places. But anyway, just got to get the wheels painted, get those back on. I do have a C-clip eliminator kit from Mosier right there that got to go on. And with saying that, I do got to pull the rear axle apart anyway, because I think I'm going to have to do a gear change. But not 100% sure yet. Either way, axle's got to come out, so we'll worry about that in the meantime. And like I said, guys, that's basically a little update on the car. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment or check out my Instagram or Facebook page. I can give updates on there as well. And I'll give updates along the way as other projects are going on as well. This is kind of one that's not really in the back burner, but I do go on a little more than other ones. Trying to make it to the dyno here shortly there, or sooner than later, basically. So again, I appreciate you guys following along. Till next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the Instagram, Facebook. And I appreciate you guys watching. Till then, chat safe, drive safe, guys.